Today we are reading Everest, which is this is book 1, the contest of 3 books, I believe, 2 or 3 books. He has a couple of other books like Dive and Kidnapped and things like that, which are pretty popular as well. So I figured I'd read the first book and see how we like it. This is by Korman, who also has written a ton of books like Slacker and other books like that. So let's go. I'm not going to read the prologue. The prologue is here. It's really interesting, actually, but I'm only going to read first chapter, so you get to read the prologue. Chapter 1. Dominic Alexis arranged the caps and wrappers on his bedroom carpet and examined them for at least the 100th time. Everest. He rummaged through the shoebox, searching for the V. He knew it was not there. R's, T's, a dozen of E's. He had counted once, more than 50, and that was weeks ago. Even a few extra S's, not a single V. That was how these contests worked. Millions of the other letters were stuck under the caps of Summit Athletic Fuel and on the inside of wrappers of Summit Energy bars, distributed to stores all around the country. Then they printed up a grand total of 3 V's and shipped them to non-existent addresses in Antarctica, 4th class. He was exaggerating, of course. There were V's out there, even if it was just a handful. Over the past weeks, the TV news had shown clips of ecstatic young climbers who had spelled out Everest to qualify for 5 wildcard spots at a boot camp. 4 of those places had been filled. Only one chance remained. At boot camp, the 5 lucky winners would join the American Junior Alpine Association's 15 top young mountaineers for 4 weeks of the intensive training and competition. It promised to be a brutal month of 6-hour workouts, night climbs, and marathon hikes, carrying heavy packs, but the end result was worth it. The top of 4 climbers would earn places on Summit Quest, Summit Athletics Everest Expedition, the youngest team to ever attempt the world's tallest peak. A shout from downstairs interrupted his reverie. "Where's my sand?" It was Christian, Dominic's older brother. Chris didn't have to scramble around the garbage cans and the recycling bins, scrounging for caps and wrappers. His place at boot camp was already secure. He was the number 2 rated only under 17 climber in the country, second only to the Z-Man himself, Ethan Zaff. Chris was talking about his good luck piece, a small glass vial from a sand of the Dead Sea. It had been a gift from his grandmother, brought back from a trip to Israel when Chris was a baby, and Dominic hadn't even been born. Chris loved the idea that the sand was from the lowest part on the globe. When he started climbing, he strung the vial on a leather cord so he could wear it around his neck. "I'm taking this sucker vertical," he would say before an ascent. And at the top of the rock or cliff or mountain, he would talk to it. "Far from home, baby. You're far from home." It was natural that Chris became more accomplished as a climber. It would one day cross his mind to take his good luck piece from the bottom of the world to the top of the world at the summit of Everest. Now, finally, he was getting his chance. Pounding on the stairs, "Come on, Dom! I'm packing up all my stuff for boot camp." There was no question that, right then, Dominic needed luck. More than Chris did. The vial of sand clutched in his fist, he opened the sash of the window and expertly eased himself outside. In many neighborhoods, it would probably raise eyebrows to have a 13-year-old climbing out of a second-story window, but it was a fairly ordinary occurrence around Lexus's home. Sometimes it was just the easiest way down. Vertical was a forbidden direction for most people. For Chris and Dominic, it was as simple as an option as left or right. Years before, as little kids, Chris had become the town hide-and-seek champion by scaling a 50-foot tree for aerial surveillance. Every time he was it. Even Mr. Alexis, when he needed to go up to the roof to check a flapping shingle, never bothered with a ladder. He had grown up in Switzerland, in the shadow of the high Alps, and was responsible for introducing his 2 sons to this climbing foolishness, in their mother's opinion. And anyway, a 30-second climb was better than a face-to-face with Chris over a stolen, borrowed good luck charm. As far as degree of difficulty went, the front of the house was pretty pathetic. Dominic started down, jamming the edge of his sneakers into the narrow spaces between the bricks. As he passed the picture window in the living room, he caught an exasperated look from his mother. He couldn't actually hear her, but instead read her lips as he dropped to the flower bed. "We have a door!" But Dominic was already sprinting along Mackenzie Avenue, preparing for an ascent of Everest required workouts in the 5 to 7 hour range, and he had been matching Chris's step for step, pedal for pedal, and stroke for stroke. Only when climbing did Chris still hold an advantage. He was almost 16, bigger, taller, and stronger than Dominic. He could haul himself up a top rope as naturally as a yo-yo returns to the hand playing with it. Dominic was just a month past his 13th birthday, and a small for his age. The Mackenzie Avenue 7-Eleven was his home away from home. Dominic estimated he had drunk more than 40 gallons of Summit Athletic Fuel in the process of spelling E-R-E-S-T. He tried his shares of the bars, too, but Summit energy bars were like quick-drying cement. After a few of them, your insides turned to concrete. Better to stick with more liquid. One more bottle. One last try. Out of habit, he checked the recycling bin behind the store first, but it was empty, except for a couple of soda cans. Inside, he grabbed a bottle of Fruit Melody. The flavors didn't matter. With Summit Athletic Fuel, it all tastes the same. Like weak, slightly salted lemonade backwash. He paid, walked out, and flopped down on the wooden bench next to the store. Before popping the cap, he addressed the good luck charm in a way he'd seen his brother do it. "Find me a V, and it's Everest or bust. I'll take you to the top of the world." Sheepishly, he looked around to make sure no one had overheard. When Chris talked to his little vial of sand, it always seemed cool. But in the 7-Eleven parking lot, it was just plain embarrassing. He twisted the cap off and peeked underneath. Another E. Until the wave of disappointment washed over him, he hadn't realized how much faith he had in his brother's good luck charm would deliver. The leather straps slid from his fingers, and the vial dropped to the pavement and began to bounce down the small strip mall's parking ramp. Horrified, Dominic stumbled after it. Losing a shot at Everest was nothing compared with what he'd have to face if he had to come home without Chris's Dead Sea sand. He scrambled like a crab, but the bottle rolled ahead of him, just out of reach. As he ran across the garage entrance, a hulking SUV roared up suddenly. The driver slammed on the brakes, and the big vehicle squealed to a halt just inches from the boy. "What's the matter with you, kid? Why don't you look where you're going?" "Sorry." Dominic picked up the vial and scooted out of the way. Mom had continuous nightmares that climbing would kill at least one member of her family. I'll bet she wasn't expecting it to happen like this, he reflected, a little shaken. The SUV accelerated up the ramp, pausing at the top. The driver tossed a candy bar wrapper into the trash barrel and drove off. It was a Summit energy bar. Dominic recognized the logo from where he had stood. Rooted to the spot, he had climbed towering cliffs. Yet walking up this gentle slope to get that piece of paper seemed much harder. He reached into the garbage and fished out the sticky wrapper. In a way, he almost knew what he would see before he turned it over. A V! It was a ticket to the top of the world. So, that is the end of Chapter 1 of Everest, which is Book 1, The Contest. So if you're interested in this book, come on over to the library, and I am more than happy to help you find it. It's one of a couple of other books, as well as his other books called Island and the other books that I mentioned earlier that I'm now forgetting. So I hope you enjoyed this first chapter Friday, and we'll see you next week. Bye.